Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and I'm not going to wish everybody a happy new year because I think that's a bit of a redundancy and nobody's really going to be happy this year. There's no point in wishing something that isn't going to happen. But I will say this. Let's hope that this year more people will wake up, that more people will recognize the fact that they are living in a demonic world filled with demons trying to assimilate and take you out. And let's hope that most people that do wake up survive the assimilation process. And that those who don't survive it, oh well, it sucks to be you. It's real simple. And it may sound like a morbid, welcoming in the new year, but it's a reality that I'm more pragmatic than anything else. And I'm not saying that if you fail in any way or shape or attempt to try to find the truth, that if you falter, that means it's the end. It's not the end. If you falter and you recognize the fact that you've made a mistake and you correct the mistake, you're still thriving and you're still moving forward in the reality of the truth that's out there. So I want to start off. I had a buddy of mine, Ty, out in West Coast, sends me this clip to watch on YouTube, Under the Silver Lake. And it was an amazing predictive programming that they had. I forget what year it was. I think it was in the late 70s. And when we're looking at all this stuff, that's been going on, and you watch this, it's this the link is going to be in the with the other links on the pod. When you watch this, it blows you away. They tell you, the guy comes, he's playing this piano, this kid's walking, he's asking him, because the kid's all mesmerized because he's talking to this big name in rock and roll and music. And he doesn't realize who he's talking. He's talking to Lucifer. And Lucifer is telling him, I wrote the music. I wrote everything. And he even tells him that the messages that were in the music was so far beyond his comprehension that he would never in a million, never get it. Never get it, and it wasn't for him anyway. And we've been saying this for a long time, and I've been saying it on my shows, and others have said it as well, that when we're looking at the world itself, it ain't what we think it is. In fact, it's not even close to what we think it is. The illusion is more real than the truth. That's a fact. That's a fact. You have to kind of live on the planet for a while, and you have to get your ass beat up on it a while before you wake up to the reality that something's wrong. And then when God comes into the picture, he slowly starts elevating your visual and your vision to see the truth as it is. Because you got to remember, you have had whatever years of programming you've had before you come to that realization that this is bullshit. And you really don't know any way out of the bullshit because there is no other, you've never had an option. You've only had two options in this life. You either have the option of the Matrix and the lies and the bullshit and Lucifer and crap, or you have God. That's the only real options you have. There's no other option. There's no real choice, really. You can choose the options, but that's it. There's no other option. You have the truth, and you have the bullshit. That's it. No in between, no game, nothing. So when you go through life and you go through whatever, you think you're chasing a dream. You have a goal because you've been told you have a dream. Have a dream. Have a goal. Have a dream. They want you to thrive on the dream because as long as you're thriving on the dream, the reality of this life doesn't exist. You're so caught up in la-la land, you don't know that you're being screwed every which way but loose. So by the time you get to that dream, there's nothing much left of you. You've been hollowed out. Whatever it is that you thought you were going for, whatever it is you thought was going to make life real, whatever you thought was life, in the pursuit of the dream, you get to that dream, you'll realize that I got there. Now what? And it's not what you think it is, and you get elated because you've succeeded and you've achieved your goal, and that's always commendable. I've achieved many goals. I've achieved different levels of wealth in my life. I've achieved different experiences in my life, different educations in my life. I've done a lot in my life. I can say that, through God, my reality in my life has been filled with a lot of different things. But in all of it, really, it was time wasted in a lot of ways. If I had been smarter, had been more awake to the truth and reality, I probably would have avoided a lot of things, and I wouldn't even have bothered with a lot of things, and would have proceeded with my evolution a lot faster. But these things had to happen so that because I was asleep. This was the process of waking up. For me, anyway, I had to go through different things, learn different experiences, had different goals, had different dreams, and had to see all those dreams and goals shattered so that I would wake up. Because in that dream state, you wind up dead, terminated. So, in this whole course of living, you begin to realize, after a while, it takes a long while, that everything that we've done or doing or have been doing, and the guy says this in that movie, Under the Silver Lake, that this has been going on forever. That we have been being seduced and mesmerized and hypnotized forever. And it's not until we start seeing things shaken up that we begin to realize this reality that we've been in has been nothing but bullshit. On the nth degree. On the nth degree. We are not living in a reality that we think we're in, Matter of fact, it's interesting. I got a chance to get 2 shows done. I had this show done 2 days ago, and I got another show done. And normally I don't have a chance to do that. Normally the material is not that forthcoming, but I have to look for it. I have friends send me stuff or whatever. But I have had so much stuff come that I thought I'd start the new year with some stuff that's old, some stuff that's new, and some stuff that was current, to tie a theme together so that you understand that this 2021 isn't going to get better. And I'm not going, like I said, I'm not the type of guy to blow sunshine up anybody's ass. I don't buy into that. It will get better in this regard. More people, I think, are going to wake up. I do believe that. More people are going to get on board and being woken up. And more people are going to get deceived like never before. I was talking to another friend of mine. I was actually talking to Deanna Spingala. She's down in Chicago. I've done shows. She's always invited me to do shows with her. And we talk all the time. We correspond all the time. So we're talking about cults today. And I was talking about a specific cult here in Ontario. And this cult that is here in Ontario is widespread. And they go in and they take people's businesses away. They separate husbands for their wives. They herd the women, basically. Well, because you got to have women in order to propagate the different seeds so that you have a controlled community. Because now everybody's of one family, right? You got one head guy boinking all these women and releasing his seed, and all the women having his progeny all over the place. So, this is what's going on. And apparently somebody today came out, had been in that cult for a while, for about 20 some odd years, and she's has been revealing this cult. And until we get more on the ball on this, I won't mention it because I don't want to create unnecessary waves. There are times where I will say things because there's valid information and evidence, but as more evidence comes out, I will talk more and more about this. But I will talk about cults as well. You see, Americans and Canadians and the world over now is ready for the Moloch cult, the cult of Moloch, the cult of Baal. More than ever are people ready for this cult. 70% of the population they figured would fall into this bullshit. They had already figured at least 75%. The other 25 to 30% they figured wouldn't be part of it. They already had this already figured out. And the reason why I say this is because everyone wearing that diaper around their face doesn't realize that they're following a form of Baal or Moloch worship. Baal and Moloch are the same thing. So, even those believers who say they go to church and hold their Bible, I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Moloch. I don't believe in Baal. No, I believe in Jesus. Well, why are you wearing that mask? See, that's a form of Baal worship. And again, if you're not aware of that, perhaps you should do some research on that. Find certain things out. I even talk to people that deal in the occult. Tell me that this is what this is. It's a form of occultic worship, worshiping this demon or this devil or this so-called God. Well, so-called God. He's no God. Just a high-powered demon. That would be a probably more appropriate entitlement. And we're seeing this all the time. I'm seeing more and more how people are capitulating to this form of worship. It's incredible to me that people are just gullible. But nonetheless, it's what it is. It's what it is. And so on this particular pod, I found, I believe it was in Genesis 11. I think it was Genesis 11. I could be wrong. I think it was Genesis 11. Anyway, I highlighted some parts of Genesis 11 just to emphasize certain things. I know some of you don't read the Bible, some don't believe in the Bible, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. You don't have to read it. I'm the one reading it, but you might want to pay attention to certain aspects to this because it's very similar to today's time. And it's very similar to Revelations because it's almost as if like the time span or the time loop is back and forth. It's like the future is the past is the future. Basically it's a cycle. The same cycle repeats itself over and over, and I don't know how in the F this continues the way it does. But it does. I have no idea why it does. But it seems like as one phase of whatever events occur that brings something down, the cycle begins all over again, and it has been perpetuated this way forever. This is why we can't grow or evolve. We're stuck in this loop. We're stuck in this insanity. Let me read this to you. It's highlighted. And they said, let us build us a city and a tower. A tower. Think about all these towers floating around. Cell towers. And whose top may reach unto the heavens. That's the cloud. That's the cloud. All this information you're uploading to the cloud. That I never understood either. Why anybody would be so effing stupid to release the data they've collected for years into the cloud. How can anybody even remotely think that that would be secure? Once it's out of your system and in a database, it's no longer subjected to any kind of security. This is what blows me away. I could never understand that. Why you would, after so much hard work or incorporating so much time and collecting so much information that all of a sudden now you're just going to surrender it to a database or an AI network. It blows me away how the gullibility of this is unbelievable. And they say, and then I wrote under my comment, everything this was an AI in the cloud, just a thought. Artificial intelligence. Don't think the artificial intelligence were the first time ones ever had this. That's bullshit. Total bullshit. Yeah, there have been others in the past. Let me keep reading. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one world system, and they shall have one language, and this they began to do. Neither can they now be stopped from whatsoever they have imagined to do. Imagine you got a planetary resources and everybody is one. In other words, you're under one program. That's what it's telling you here. The people is one. And they all have one language. In other words, everyone is connected to a program. Programming language. Now, basically, you're controlled. And there's nothing, it says, neither can now they be stopped for whatsoever they imagine to do. Imagine, remember this concept, imagine. If the AI can upload everything about you, it will now have the capacity to imagine different things. Okay? It would appear that the singularity that transhumanists talk about was already done before. This is what this is indicating. And is repeating with this conditioning with coercion to make the earth again a one world system, as you can see AI in the sky. So when you're looking at some of this stuff, and you read some of these things, you might be surprised at how, again, we're recycling a lot of things going on. There was a guy, I think his name's Spiro, and he put out something called A Glimpse of the Future, and I thought he did a really well done job on it. And he talks about the programming and about the cartoons and everything about it. And you should, I mean, it tied to what I'm talking about here, and it ties to the One World Network and he was referring to this. You should go watch it. The link is there. I downloaded it just in case you can't get it. Let me know. I can forward it to you. You might be able to, if you get a hold of me on telegram.org. I'm at Independs, and if you need something, I can send it to you through there. It might be easier than going through Skype. The other thing I want to talk about is let me see real quick. Got a lot of stuff here. I want to go back into the network. There's a show called The Network, and because we were talking about cults earlier, and how television is a cult. I said a word that not just a cult, O-C-C-U-L-T, a cult, or a cult, because it programs you like a cult. Okay, and I got the network. I got these links set up the way I did. You can watch them any way you can. You can start off with the network being mad as hell. Every time I watch it, I keep thinking this is exactly what we need to do. I don't know how to do this, but we need to get everybody to yell out the window, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. And we need to make such a reverberation of sound on this that the whole city says, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. That would shake the foundation of any political system on the planet. When you have a people no longer under the spell and the enchantment of the bullshit, especially this crap, Corona Bonona, the Corona Boogeyman, oh, wear the diaper, keep that diaper on, we're going to give you a shot, but you still got to keep that diaper on. Keep the diaper, don't take it off, no. Now, the one network, when you watch it, the tube lies, the gospel. I've been saying to you that people will believe the gospel according to television. I was just going through this, and I just so happened to see this. I thought, you got to be kidding me. I've been talking about this for like a couple of days, and here it is. And he comes right out and says this. And he blames, he says there was a small victory that they had in stopping a financial acquisition that was going to happen in America at the time. And again, this is all fictitious. And he said, but that's it, boys. We're done. And he said that the concept of democracy is dead. All done, dead, gone. And he said, what's really dead and gone, and this is where everybody needs to pay attention, is your right of individuality is no longer going to be acknowledged. We're going right back to that version in the Bible, back when I just told you, Genesis 11. That's where this is going right back to. And he's telling you that the reason why we're in the situation we're in is because nobody reads anymore. And I can concur on that one. All the references and research I have done on nano alone, just what I have put out there, and the literature I have put out there just on my website, and how it's been highlighted and commented and whatever, hardly anybody reads that. You know, and they tell me, I had one person, that's information overload. Oh. This is one of the reasons why we're having the problems we're having today. Nobody is reading anymore. They're being entertained by the media or the mediums. And they say, and this is the thing, this was on television back in 1976. 1976. 1976. I think I was graduated out of high school 2 years then. I was 20 years old. And he's saying that America isn't going to die. America is a superpower. It's a powerful agent. But the individual rights of Americans, not just Americans, the world. He pointed out the reason why America was going through what it was going through because it was the most advanced, the most sophisticated, and was the first. Because it had all the things that it had, it was going to be the first one to go down. It's sliding. Look at this last election. This wasn't an election against Trump, against Biden. This was an election against powers and principles, or powers and principalities. You had Jesuits and Zionists fighting for power over America. That's what that was really all about. If you actually sit there and scratch the surface a little bit, you'll see this is what this is. How could Biden, this guy is a moron. How could a moron like this even hope to achieve the presidency unless he was selected to be there? He couldn't run on merit. Guy doesn't have enough brain cells to spark to tie his shoe with his Velcro. And yet here he is going to be the president of the United States of America? You think people actually voted for this? You know, you need to really think about it. I mean, Trump is a salesman. He's a good one. He's a very good salesman. And whether he's done half the shit he said he's done is another story. But at least he could communicate. He had a couple brain cells in his head that could spark properly. The other one, not so much. Somebody sent me a post. I don't know if I should say this on the air or not, but I think I will. It's going to piss off some of the Biden supporters, but that's okay. There's a statement Biden made. I guess it's a quote. I got to get my composure. I saw it and I started laughing. He said he was so far up China's ass that he was following Trudeau's shoes. I know it's rude and crude, but it's funny because it's true. There was something else I gotta point out. I hope some of you weren't too cruded out about, but I thought it was funny. This is the truest thing I have seen in a long time, expressing our times today. There is no government. There's a secret society that has formed, illegal corporations around the world pretending to be your government. Without your submission, it cannot survive. Okay, let me read that again. This is why I went to that whole Biden and Trudeau thing. There is no government. There is no government. There's a secret society that has formed illegal corporations. America's a corporation. So is Canada. So is most countries in the world. Has formed illegal corporations around the world pretending to be your government. Without your submission, it cannot survive. When the guy on the network said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, and all those people got up off their chairs and started yelling out the windows, let me remind you of something. Our voices are frequencies. And each person's voice is a frequency. Imagine if we got all of the city of Windsor yelling out the window, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore, you know. And everybody in Windsor started saying this. I guarantee you they will hear that in Toronto. I guarantee it they will hear that in Toronto. And if Windsor did this, and Chatham did this, and Blenheim did this, and Sarnia did this, and Port Stanley did this, and London did this, I guarantee you they will hear this coast to coast. They will hear California will hear it. Florida will hear it. Europe will hear this. If we all got up in Canada and said, I am mad as hell and I'm not going to take this shit anymore, I guarantee you the UN would hear it. And it might bring some of these pricks down to their knees. I guarantee it. And we need to have this. I don't know how to spark that. I really don't know. I wish I did, because I would initiate that if I knew how. it would rattle their chain to the core, because then they know that their time is even gone up faster than they realized. And they would realize at this stage in life they would be hunted down. They would go into their bunkers, and you know what? Their bunkers will not protect them. The Bible says that they'll go under the underground, hiding in the caves, thinking that they would be protected, and the caves would collapse, or the world would collapse on them. Sounds to me like some heavy-duty explosives would go on to trap them in their bunkers, bury their asses. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. See, I look at it this way. We as a species have not been able to go forward. In spite of everything that's been done for us to encourage us to go forward, we can't seem to get past a certain point, and then we go right back on the circle. It seems like every third generation we go right back to the same bullshit all over again. And I think this is based on what I understand of history and how I've read it. It seems like every time mankind has put a stop to evil, historically, evil has always subsided, hid, and surrendered until they waited to that third generation, when they figured that they could come in, sneak in there with their deceptions, their lies, and their theatrics to sway the population back to being entrapped again. The one thing that we have lost in the last 50 years that I can see is we have lost the acknowledgement of our individuality. Okay? We have lost the acknowledgement of our individuality. We have gone into all this bullshit about homosexual rights and lesbian rights and gay rights and Black Lives Matters and transgenetics and transgender rights and all this bullshit. And we have forgone the individual rights of men and women. Okay, whatever happened to heterosexual rights? If you're heterosexual, you're condemned for it. But if you're gay, they pat you on the back. Oh, well done. Join the club. See, and we have lost the individuality of ourselves, because every time we have acknowledged a specific group or sect or cult and given them some sort of special status, our individuality became more and more diminished. When the Bible says we were made in God's image after His own likeness, that gives us our individuality. And that's been surrendered for all this other horse shit. End of story. And because we have lost that honor, we've lost the honor of our individuality. And so we've traded it for this horseshit we're calling life today. This coexistence. I'm not saying we shouldn't coexist, but I'm saying we shouldn't be surrendering our individuality to any government or any institution or any form of tyranny that we're dealing with today. And this is what I'm saying, to use these little things like this, like I just mentioned, to create this weakening of that foundation, because that foundation is what keeps a nation going. That we're protecting those individual rights. We're not taking away one person's rights and giving it to a special group. That's bullshit on every level. That's not equality. That's playing one side against the other. That's called antagonism, divide and conquer. And this is where we're at today. And guess where we learned all this bullshit from? Guess where we learned it from? We learned it from the gospel according to television. According to television. Now, when you watch that one link, and he tells you that in this television, that everything people know today comes from the gospel according to television. He says, we'll lie to you, we will entertain you, we will cheat you. He says, we'll tell you whatever shit you want to believe. That's the truth. He was telling you that the television was the weapon. He says it'll bring down popes, it'll bring down chancellors, it'll bring down prime ministers, it'll bring down presidents, it'll bring down any world leader. This is the most powerful weapon on the planet. Because once you get the people, the mindset of the people to believe the bullshit that this thing propagates, nothing on television is true. Nothing. When they tell you the truth, when they tell you a truth in the way they got you interpreting the truth, that truth is not true at all. In fact, it's more of a lie than anything else. It's a truism, that's all it is. And it's designed to manipulate you and put you in a position where they can now control you further and further and further. Just like when I was talking about the guy under the Silver Lake. He comes right out and tells the young man, everything you believe, everything you think you know comes from the songs I have written. Programming. 2021 is not going to be any different than 2020, except the bullshit and the method of bullshitting people and the method of integrating them into the cult is going to be exponentially expedient. They are going to rapidly ratchet this up and make sure they keep all the fish in the net that they've caught. If people are so stupid today to fall for wearing a diaper for something that has absolutely no biometric genetic to test, and there's not a single trace of evidence that this even exists, and yet you got people believing in a fairy tale like this, and you got people social distancing for no reason whatsoever other than the fact it's easier to isolate and target somebody. That's the only reason why you would have people social distance, because if you wanted to target them with a frequency assault, it's a lot easier to beam a beam into their head and get them to act or react according to whatever that program is saying for them to do. If they got them believing in a fairy tale that doesn't exist and got them to put on a mask that's a form of satanic worship without them even realizing what they're doing, they've already won that battle. All you can do at this point is present to them whatever facts you can present to them, and hopefully there's enough brain cell, enough soul, enough spirit left in that person to be able to grab onto that. Problem with people is they fear things because they don't understand what they're fearing. That's the biggest problem, and that's because they don't read. They don't study. Once they got out of school, they thought that was all they were ever going to need in an education, because that's what television portrayed. You got out of school, got out of college, had a job, and didn't have to worry about being educated anymore, because now they are set for life. That is the illusion that television propagates. In this life, I'm going to tell you something. And this will be a tidbit for everybody. Wherever you started in this life, whatever education you had, whatever skills you had, whatever positions you have, that is all subject to change. Everything that you have done is subject to change, and it will change. And you will be forced to continue your education in order to survive in an ever-changing world. There is no, I've done it, I've achieved it, now I can kick back and sit back for the next 60 years and take it easy. That ain't real at all. You will, in order for you to grow, there will be transitions that will happen in your life that will force you to grow. That is a reality. And some of you don't want to grow and you run away from that transition. Sooner or later, if you don't grow, you die. That's it. If you don't grow, you die. And I'm not talking necessarily of physical death. I'm talking your soul will die. Your spirit will die. Your brain will die. Your mind will go. Your ambition in life will die. Everything will die. Stagnation is the worst thing that could happen to anybody. Because if you're not evolving, you're just going to wither. That's what happens to the plants. You see a plant blossom, and as it keeps growing, it develops into a whatever species of plant or flower that it does, and once it stops growing, it starts to die. We're no different. We're no different. So when you watch that, the gospel, the television is a lie, and you see it, and this is the thing about it all. See, I grew up during this time. I understood that part of it. I knew television was a lie. I rarely watched television, and when I saw this show, I remember watching when I was a kid, I knew that what they were saying was true. I didn't catch the whole concept of the world was a business or a corporation. I get it now very easily, but I understood the nature of business. But you got to remember, at the time, I was living in the United States at the time. We were taught to be, G.I. Joe, gun ho, America, America, America. We fought for liberty. We're a free country. Blah blah blah. That whole nonsense of whatever. Americans are no freer than anybody else. They're just as much dead as anybody else. The only difference is they have shopping to distract them. Lots of shopping. There may be a gap, just so you know. Hopefully there is no gap. But anyhow, the concept, Americans have shopping, and they had the entertainment, and they had everything given to them in order to distract Americans from the reality of life that was really going on. And every time you see in the country develop the quickest, the fastest, get ahead of the crowd, what you seen was all of a sudden there was a certain type of heightened arrogance. Germany had it. We're number one. We are number one. No, that's the Americans. Sorry, we are the superior race, which means the same thing. We're number one. And in their arrogance, they forgot to have a reality check. Being at the top doesn't mean you're going to always be there. And there's always somebody else that can knock you off the top. That's what happened to Germany. Germany got betrayed by America because America and Germany were allies at the time. And eventually, when America got into the war, they're the ones that toppled Germany because they're the ones that built Germany. It's the way it is. They're the ones that actually started the war. And Germany happened to be the people that, unfortunately, were used in that war. But again, nobody read. Nobody read. It was all propaganda, all bullshit, all nonsense. And when you get at people who are desperate to follow and believe anything, cults will form. Cults are going to form. You have no idea what we're going to see in the next little while. The UN will form cults all over the world to gather its believers, to gather its acolytes, to gather its whatever. And people are going to flock to this because they're going to be so desperate. This whole thing, when you look at it, we got a bullshit make-believe boogeyman that doesn't exist. We have shut down all the businesses that could and should keep a community viable. Now nobody's going to be working, nobody's going to have money. And then today I heard, now again I'm not sure on this one, but I had heard today that everybody that got that CERB earlier this year is going to be forced to pay it all back. I've often said that about the government. Never trust your government, because you will get effed in the arse every bloody time. That's what they do. You got to remember, the government always gets the loaf. You only get the crumb. And now they want that crumb back. The government always gets the steak. You get maybe the grizzle. And they want that back. Every benefit that they've ever given us, every social program that they have ever every little gift, benefit, they're going to get it back. My buddy says how they're going to get it back is in the taxes. When you file your taxes at the end of the year, now this is in Canada, I don't know what they're going to do in the States, but I'm assuming that the system will be identical. Because I couldn't figure out how the government in Canada was giving away $2,000 a month to everybody because of what had happened. This was their idea of compensating everybody. And I thought, well, how are they going to get this back? I'm a businessman. I'm thinking to myself, okay, they gave money to everybody. Where are they going to? They got to get this money back from somewhere. I knew they were already touching the pensions. That's a given. And your pensions aren't going to be there. I'm going to tell you that now. They're going to have you on the program. If you are in this matrix, and you wish to stay in this matrix, you will take that mark that they're going to give you to exist so that you can be in what is considered normal. You will never ever go back to normal. That is pure bullshit. Normal is done. Normal means you having the individuality to make a choice and how you wish to conduct yourself and how you wish to live, what you want to eat, where you'd like to go, how you like to be entertained, where you like to travel. You're not going to have that like you had it before. You'll only be allowed to travel only if the government allows it to, like they do in the CCP. The CCP, if you decide to challenge them, they decide to shut down your finances or access to your finances, you can't even get on a subway. And chances are most of the Asians over there are probably tagged with a microchip in them already. There's a good chance it's already happened over there. We are following a godless system. That's where this is heading. China is the prototype. The CCP is the prototype. There's a picture I saw today of New Year's Eve. The Chinese are outside by the thousands and tens of thousands, and they're not social distancing. Yeah, how many of you even look at stuff like this and ask yourself, how is it that China's got 1.5 or 1.6 billion people? I think they've only got 1.3, but someone told me 1.5 today. I know India's got 1.5, 1.6, but anyway, irregardless, over a billion people, 1.3 billion, 1.6, 1.10 billion, who the hell? It's all the same at that point. How is it you got that many people and they're not social distancing? If there was going to be a fucking pandemic, for fuck's sakes, they would be dying in the streets. The rate of spread would be exponential. Geometrical is like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 10, 24. You get it? It would just rapidly wipe them out. Yet here they are in the middle of the street, their Times Square, their version of Times Square, tens of thousands of them, even hundreds of thousands of them, lined up just to see some fireworks. Oh, the New Year, yay! And New York City empty. Chicago empty. Detroit empty. Miami empty. Toronto empty. Montreal empty. Calgary empty. Vancouver empty. Imagine that. We got what? In between the Canadian and the American population, we got about 360 million people total. We don't even have 1/4 the population of China. Or maybe we do. Maybe we do have about 1/4. And yet we're acting like what? Again? Like there's something really out there? And have you noticed? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. And nobody else has died in China since this has happened? It was only for a short, limited time. Did you ever think maybe perhaps they were being targeted with a terahertz frequency? I just got an article the other day about how they can now take a terahertz band and refine it down to a fine point or a widespread. This is the killing machine that's going on, not 5G. And yet here we are, wrapped up in this fakery in regarding to this boogeyman that isn't even here. So, like I said, I don't trust any government. I would tell you not to trust any government. I would tell you to go as far as trying to let's remove these bastards that we do have in government. And we had that attitude more and more, like, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. I assure you, these premiers would stick their head up their own arses for fear, because they know the handwriting is on the wall. The Prime Minister, I read the other day, there was an article about the PM that the Liberals are ratting and raving because the Prime Minister has won a majority. I cannot believe anybody in this country would buy into this. This guy's a scoundrel, and he has sold us. I shouldn't say he did. Let me reiterate that. This one is not his fault. I gotta say, this one is not the Liberals' fault. This was the PC's fault. That's why I say it doesn't matter what party you vote in. Both of them will fuck you. End of story. And I'm just saying it that way. Harper fucked us when he signed that treaty with China and gave China the full reign of Canada. That if there was any law that we had that could cause an impediment in their profit, that we would have to change the law to appease the Chinese. F that. I don't see anybody else having that same right or privilege. Imagine if you decide as a Canadian to go and start a business, and all of a sudden there's a law that's causing your business not to profit. Would the government change the law to appease you? I don't think so. Yeah, here we are doing it for the CCP? Really? So Harper sold us. Trudeau put us in bed with them. That's the difference. That's the difference. So like I said, when we're looking, and Canadians really have to have a hard effing look at our political system here. This system is shot. Period. Shot. We got, like I said, we've got the second most corrupt government in the planet. India is number 1. We're number 2. Venezuela is number 3. Imagine that. And we were opening a free trade dialogue with India. I don't know if that's still going on now, because now we're in bed with China. We were called Chinada. Welcome to Chinada. Soon we'll take down the maple leaf, or we'll add 5 or 6 stars to the maple leaf and change the flag color from red to orange. We'll become a territory of Chinada. And I mentioned sometimes to my friends down in the U.S., I said, we're going to be called, in North America, we're not going to be called North America anymore. No. We're going to be called Chinad America. Chinad America. And to the Republic, with the chop suey stands, 1 chopstick under the flag. New national anthem. I hope it does get you mad. It should. I hope you get to the point I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. We have been made to be so complacent and so domesticated, it's not even funny. And I understand, and we try to be law-abiding, and we try to be social. But this is not law-abiding when you're being complicit and complying with an illegal system. That makes you an accessory to the crime. That's what it does. So again, I'm presenting this as well so that everybody has a chance to see this. Let's see here. There's something else I had going on here. Oh, the United Kingdom has come. I mentioned on the last show very lightly, but the United Kingdom has come up with a drone. Fits the size of your palm of your hand, and it has a 1.25 mile range. As far as seeing things. Reminded me of a song. Remember the song, every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. Every single day, every word you say, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you. Every breath you take, every move you make, okay, it just repeats it. They were telling us this back in the 1970s, late 1970s, early 1980s. They were forewarning us, or not forewarning us, I should say. The elite were telling each other to start engaging in the program of spying on everybody because we were ready for it. They're broken everybody down. This whole idea, we need security. Oh, we need security. You know what we need security from? Not from each other. Oh, no. I've yet to see a situation where people could, you know, need protection from each other. It's when the government gets in and instigates these programs is when we need to be protected from each other, because they instill a mistrust between people. I have a hard time trusting people. I mean, this is just the way I was brought up. This is how I grew up. You know, in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was very hard. Trust was something really, 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 really hard to have unless you were in a group that everybody was familiar with and everybody was watching everybody's back. That was the only time you had any real trust in anybody. And even then, sometimes you didn't trust, because there was always somebody there that created that doubt. Not saying it was any better than any time else, not really, but that's the illusion that I was under at the time, and I'm saying the same thing today. You know, we have illusions that have been part of our programming in our psyche for a long time. So here we are, now we have a drone. Why do we need to have drones flying all over the place, spying on the city? Think about this for 1 minute. Think about it. And this is in the United Kingdom. This is in the UK. Okay, in the UK. The UK is even more programmed than Canadians. I'm so domesticated, it's sickening how they don't question the king, queen, anything. If the queen says that, she starts waving at them, they all wave back. That she's thinking, "Oh, I'm so glad you're so naively, blindly following me, because now I have all your money and I can drive around in the gold Rolls Royce, and thanks to you, I can now afford it. Keep on sending me your money." Like a TV evangelical. God will bless you. God is going to bless you today. All you got to do is, and today is a special day that God is going to have for you. All we need from you today is $100. Send us $100 donation. God is going to open up the doors of the windows of heaven and rain His blessings upon you, because it is the will of God that you should be blessed. And if you send us $100, God will bless you even more. And these guys are laughing all the way to the bank. All the way to the back. Now, didn't I sound really good? Didn't I sound like a convincing TV evangelical? I'm going to hear from my friends, "Hey, you did that really well." I watched enough of them. No different. But the British, unfortunately, are more domesticated than we are. So, I mean, I'm thinking in my mind, why do the Brits need this kind of hardware floating around in the air? Why do they need to be spied on? This so happened I got news for the Commonwealth. This effery that they're doing there is going to be all over. If it ain't already in New Zealand and Australia, it will be. We have the potential in Canada, but I haven't. It may be already going. I know the Detroit River has got drones flying up and down it. We've seen those, and I'm sure unless they're high enough in the air where we can't see them, I'm sure. And you know what? And that's a possibility, because sometimes I walk out the door and I'm feeling like I'm being beamed with some kind of beam. So it could be a drone popping me, seeing who I am, or trying to check me out, or trying to get a profile on me. But sometimes when you walk out, just to give you an idea, sometimes you come out of your car, you come out of a store, and you feel like you're just sort of like somewhat. Your body feels like it's light. Like you're sort of not an out of body of experience, because I hate using that terminology because I'm not into any new age bullshit, but you feel aloof. That's a good word. You feel aloof. That's because you're being targeted with some kind of frequency, and it could be a drone, because you can't see the damn things because they're probably a mile high. And they can, like I said, they can refine a terahertz frequency now, so that you can be hit with it pretty hard. Like I said, with a fine point. I keep saying that persecution has been engaged. We had 3 ministers last week just in Ontario alone that were persecuted by the law, given a fine because they opened up a church. Are you effing kidding me? Like I said, I'm not a church goer. I do believe in Jesus, yes. I do believe in the living God, yes. But I don't necessarily go to church. I don't believe a lot of these churches are worth going to. Once in a blue moon, I may fall. About the only church I actually visit is Sherry's at Three Hearts, and there might be another one. I forget the other one. And like I said, the reason I go to her place is because that woman, like I said, she's dynamite. She's blasting away with the truth. And so I've got people saying, and I tell people, I'm not the one to come to. I'm not one of those guys that's going to teach anything biblical. I just know what I know based on what I learned, and I don't know, and I'll be the person to say I'm not proficient. But I understand the scriptures a little bit differently today based on the technology that I've been exposed to, and now I can see that technology in the biblical references. But she, like I said, I'll visit her because, like I said, I have never heard a minister talk about the stuff that she talks about. She exposes the Jamatra, she's exposing the devil, she's exposing all, and I'll tell you, she's got some brass cookies. She's telling it the way it is. She says there's a minister in Africa that's doing the same thing, and I think there's another one I heard somewhere else down in the south as well. I think Texas or something, the same thing. And there's probably, and I'm sure there's a lot of ministers out there that are, straight up telling it the way it is. Unfortunately, those are the ones you're not seeing. What you're seeing is the bullshit on television. The guy down there is saying, "Oh, God's going to bless you, man," and he's blinking all the time. Send money. Oh, send money. God will bless you. Send money. Send money. God will bless you. And it's this whole hypnosis bullshit. Sherry calls them TV witches. I call them something else, but I can't say that on the network. Send me your money. Money, send me. God bless you. Oh. Queen waving. My poor subjects. Keep giving your money and staying poor. I'll drive the gold Rolls Royce. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The domestication there. Why would they need this kind of hardware? You got to start thinking. All these frequencies we're being hit with today is not doing us really any good health-wise. They're breaking us down. This is a form of radiation, and once you get exposed, keeps on breaking you down. And every time you're re-exposed, it keeps furthering, exponentially breaking you down. Eventually, you will have a cancer of some kind of mutation of the cells as a result of being exposed to these high levels of constant exposure to radiation. You may not think of it as much because you're not feeling the effect right away, but it's accumulative. You get hit a little bit today from your phone, a little bit from a tower, a little bit from a smart meter, a little bit from a smart device, a little bit from an iPad, a little bit from a voice to skull. A little bit from walking the store and getting your eyes beamed with blue beam technology. You're driving down the road, getting hit with blue beam technology from the headlights on the cars. This radiation is accumulative. And once it reaches a certain point, you start avalanching, not dropping, avalanching on the way down, because of your DNA being so badly damaged. So, like I said, I wanted to present that. I wanted to present again the ministers are being persecuted. So when we're looking at more and more reports are coming out about these vaccines. They're infecting people. They're not just touching you. Israel. I won't say it's Israel. I'll call it Zionism. Zionism now is developing a synthetic meat. And they're actually making it look like real meat from a vegetation matter. And all the vegans say, "Yay! Vegan! Ooh, vegan meat! Yay! Ooh!" Dumbass. This vegan meat that they're making in Israel is a weapon. It's a weapon. It's a genetically engineered weapon being put together through a 3D printer. And when you eat it, you're going to think you're eating meat. It's going to taste like meat. It might even smell like meat. It'll look like meat. It'll bleed like meat. They're actually putting some kind of blood in it. Maybe it might be adrenochrome. Who knows? And this is what they're going to try to sell everybody in the future because they need to get us off of eating real meat, because the real cow meat keeps us strong. I know the vegans can't handle that. Oh, you eating a cow? Oh, you eating a cow? You know what? Go after yourself. Go eat your little carrot, or go mow on some grass or whatever it is. And when you're dead and gone, we'll remember you for about 2 seconds. Oh, there goes idiot. Yep, forgotten. They want us to be completely compromised. And the assault on mankind is going to get exponential. They want to wipe out the elderly now with these shots. They want to wipe out, anybody that's on any kind of social program right now. They want to wipe out people that are going to be retiring. That's my generation, the generation I'm from. We're next. We're next in line. And they don't care who dies. They don't care who lives. This is all about corporocracies. It's all about the God of this world. And it's interesting when he mentions something about the truth, and I'm going back to the network, I'm bouncing all over the place. He says, if you want the truth, if you really want the truth, go to God. Tells you that. Go to God. And he calls this a godless planet. He's correct. He's correct. Lucifer is not a god. He runs the planet, he controls the planet, but he's not a god. He wants to be God, he wants to be worshipped as God, he wants to be like the Most High. But he's not God. Tells you that right in the movie. I mean, you couldn't get a more expose on what is going on and where you really got to go. And this, think of this this way. Think of this way. I'm a believer telling you to go read the Gospels of Jesus. Okay? So you might say I'm a bit biased. Okay, you believe in Jesus, so you're obviously going to tell us to go read about Jesus. Well, obviously that's correct. I am going to. That's who I believe in, so I'm going to tell you to go read him because he's the one I believe in. Now, you have a secular network on television telling you the same exact thing. If you want the truth, you got to go to God. Imagine that. Imagine that. That's predictive programming. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about Baptists. I'm not talking about Pentecostals, because people say you're always picking on the Catholics. I also will say you can't. It's not about Catholicism. It's not about the papacy. It's not about the papists. It's not about Jesuitism. It's not about Protestantism. It's not about Islamism or Islam. It's not about Judaism. It's not about Buddhism. It's not about any form of Eastern religion. These are religions. That's all they are. They dictate policy. They dictate regulations and how. You're not a fucking robot. If God wanted a robot, he would have built one. That's simple. Some of you say, well, we are robots. Well, we've become robotic, that's for sure. That's true. But we're not robots because we've lost our capacity to think as an individual. We've lost our capacity to think and feel like an individual. We all feel like we got to be connected to this gestalt that they've created. Our connection to each other is real and has to be real because we're all those of us are men and women. If you're some alien dressed in the body of flesh, you're not a man or a woman. You're an alien. You're sheep in wolf's clothing. But those of us who are men and women, we're designed to be networked with each other and connected. But when we're looking at that connection overriding our individuality, that's where the line has to be drawn. And for some reason, that has been forgotten. And it goes right back. And again, we go right back to the very beginning of the show. Let us build a city together, and a tower, that's what would connect everything with through a frequency. It may reach unto the heavens, cloud, AI in the cloud, right there. And God saw that the people are one, under one network, and have all one language, all speaking the same program. The singularity that the transhumanists want, because they want slaves. They don't want you to be individual. They don't want you to have any individuality. They want you to be part of a group, a collective. They showed you the Borg. They were a designation. I'm 6 of 4, 5 of 9, 10 of 12, whatever. That's what they want. They want you to be fully integrated into an AI network. So now you can be the perfect machine, the perfect slave to do their bidding. AI in the sky. Goes right back to it. And this is what blew me away. I had to. It was one thing because I had formed the show already, and then today all this other stuff came out. I thought, well, it's all connected. It really is. It's all really connected. And maybe you may not see the connection. Maybe you will. But you need to, like I said, have a hard look at this. You know, the effery that's going on, especially those of us in the Commonwealth. You ever wonder why the Commonwealth never traded with each other like we should have? Why didn't Australia and California, Canada and New Zealand and Canada and vice versa and the United States and the UK all had a network of trade? Did you ever think that perhaps if we stayed trading with each other and kept the trade within the regions and borders of the Commonwealth, that we would have been far more advanced and we wouldn't be in the situation we're in today? They divided and isolated all of us, separated us, and they used whatever wedge or means to keep us separate. But we should have been in a bond with each other, since we are of the Commonwealth, and stayed connected as a Commonwealth and traded as a Commonwealth amongst each other. And this bullshit, spending hundreds of dollars to send shit down to New Zealand and Australia, that's such bullshit. It blows me away what these people have to pay. When I send stuff down there, I cringe for them. Because of what it costs to ship shit down there. It amazes me what it costs to send something down to Australia or New Zealand. Even to the UK, it's not as bad. It's bad enough. But it's the same thing in Canada. If I want to ship something of any dimensions to, say, Newfoundland, it costs me as much to send something from Windsor, Ontario to Newfoundland, St. John's, as it does down to Australia. Imagine that. And we're in the same continent. This is what I'm saying. This crap that they done to us, they divided us, and now as a result we've become weakened as a result, and our economy should have been based on within our own system. See, the Chinese could crash right now, crash the world's economy, and they would survive. They would survive because they have a population within the confines of their border where they can rebuild their economy with probably 1 to 2 years. The rest of the world would take about 10. India is the only other country in the world that would be able to rebound from a lost economy with trade in the world, because again, for the same reason, they have the population where they can rebuild. We would have needed to establish that among the Commonwealth, just among the Commonwealth. You know, it would have. We probably would have had probably close to 600 or 700 million people that we could have been trading with just within the Commonwealth alone. Well, maybe not that. Well, about 600 million, maybe. No, let me think. No, not that much. Probably more like 450 million. But still, that's pretty adequate, and that probably would have stimulated the population growth in all the countries as well. But instead, here we are. Here we are, playing the game, being lied to, being told all the wonderful lies, you know. And when you watch these 4 links I put out there, again, don't be surprised when you see this stuff. And again, look at the date this was made. Not the date that was put up on the YouTube, but the date it was made. You might be surprised. Alrighty, I'm going to let it go here. I think I'm going to let it go here. Where are we at here? Oh man, I'm way over. Okay, I wasn't paying attention to the time. Sorry about that. Anyway, as I always mention, there are people on my site that are doing stuff. I again encourage you to help them financially any way you can. You got Sherry 3 Hearts, I mentioned her. You got Ty out in the West Coast. You got Brian on the West Coast. You got Yanni in Europe. You got me here in Canada. You got Shai over there in the Middle East. Again, I encourage you all to help them any way you can financially. To take a look at what's going on. So they can help continue in providing for you the facts as they can research and discover. I always tell everybody, read the Gospels according to Jesus. Read the Gospels, read them. Understand who Jesus is, was, and is today, and how we need to really focus on that. As the guy in the network says, if you want the truth, you got to go to God. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. You know, go for it, go to it. You know, in the King James Version, when you read John, the Gospel of John, first verse, it says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's the actual translation. But anyway, that indicates that there's a oneness there. So I would encourage you to go read the Gospels accordingly, and go from there. Evolve and grow, and maintain your individuality. That's why God made you the way He did. Wonderfully made, He said. Alrighty. I also want to emphasize that we are still here by the grace of God. So till the next segment, to your health. Take care. Oh, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not wishing you a happy new year. I'm wishing you that you survive this new year under the demonic influences and not be assimilated, and that those who are asleep would wake up, so that we could have a more success in maybe making a change. All right, take care.